So here you can see this is a landscape as it was before we installed our water harvesting feature. And water is moving all the way from up here, and you can kind of see it moving down through here. And it's all collecting at this one point right here. So water stops there. It doesn't go down further the parking lot, and instead it collects and it moves up this path. And I was told when starting the project they were constantly having problems with water damage in the at the basement. And I think I now know why. So you can see it actually gets fairly deep here. This is about a ½ inch of water. And the way the grade of the pathway is that it was, the high spot was by the parking lot and the low spot was by the building. So all this water was hitting towards the building and then flowing about 8 feet or so from the foundation. So it's really being underutilized. It's creating erosion problems in the landscape and essentially is a hazard. So here you can see it moving pretty rapidly during a heavy rain event. So all of that water from that driveway or from that parking lot is just going right to the building. So a big problem that we then were able to manage. So what we did here, thank you Access Framingham, is we dug out a basin right by that corner. So we changed the grade of the landscape so that our low point would then be here as opposed to over here. So water now hits this area and fills this basin up, and then we actually dug a trench out here to start watering the garden bed there from all this water. And we basically made our new low point in the landscape right here. So the previous low point was down by the front entrance, right? As I'm pointing out here, that's the new low point. So instead of water, when it overflows or gets too big for this water feature, instead of overflowing back down here, by creating the low point back where I was in the path, the water now overflows at that part of the landscape. So it overflows into our garden as opposed to right next to the building. And so this all acts as a passive way to harvest this water and passively irrigate all of these plants along the side of it. And we had a rain barrel that's right there on site. And this is actually a way in which to utilize the very low marginal pressure system that rain barrels produce to irrigate a landscape. So basically just creating a basin in which to store water in the landscape itself. So this is before we backfilled it, but this gives you an idea of how water is moving. And as you can see, water, because of that larger space, gets to slow down and settle before it then moves further into the landscape. So it reduces the velocity of water as it moves through, so it reduces erosion potential. So we backfilled it with stone dust, or I should say crushed bluestone, so that you could walk on it. And so this is a rain event after we installed it. And you can see now water is flowing into this basin here as opposed to down the path. So it's hitting this point here, still coming from the parking lot. So it's flowing into this basin, creating this we created this new low point here, and not creating any resistance in the landscape for water to flow into here. So it's filling this area, and it's now daylighting once again at our new low point. So water is overflowing here as opposed to by the building. And you may recall when we were looking at our overhead design of the feature, this garden bed was placed on the contour of the landscape, meaning that it's 90 degrees to the flow of water. So all this water is hitting the contour of that garden bed. So that's further slowing and soaking that water down into the landscape. And that was something that was basically just not initially planned with this feature. It was just because it was initially thought of just in the general term of the landscape, it became essentially a great partner with the new water feature.